Good morning. I've just had a very interesting interview / conversation with Vlad. Um, he spoke to me a couple of weeks ago and did a write-up of an interview. It was mostly with my stripy light bulb head on because he wanted to know about systems and processes that I use in the absence of having energy, what things help me to get the job done, etc. What I'm going to do is everything I talk about, if I remember, I will put a link in the post content, the text bit of this YouTube video, because there's a heck of a lot of stuff going on at the moment, and if you've not been on social media for a couple of days, you may well have missed 6 things from me. So that's what this video is for. So I'll include that article in case you're interested, because a lot of people say, I don't know how you do what you do. Well, have a read of that. Very well written, thank you very much, Vlad. But he's just had a Friday morning waffly no idea what he's going to make of that, but anyway. So what else have I got spinning at the moment? So Q&A taking, okay. Sorry, my dad just put a little message up at the window, bear with. So what am I spinning at the moment? There is an article in the Canary that's talking about the petition that's been running for a few weeks. Some of you may not know this, but historically, we've had disability ministers in one form or another. It started getting a bit messy when the Tories were in power because we didn't have one for ages, and then she became like a job share, did it part-time hours, wasn't very good. Her name was Mims something or other. Then when Labour came in, I've been so busy with 1,000,000,001 other things, wasn't really on my radar, other than I knew that Vicky Foxcroft was no longer dealing with disability. She used to be a bloody good shadow disability minister. She used to raise questions for me, signpost, whatever your opinion of her is. I think she was a very good shadow disability minister. Bearing in mind, shadow doesn't have much power. Very empathetic, lovely person. Anyway, so she's no longer dealing with disability. So I knew that, but I didn't really know much about who was currently our disability minister. But it kind of came on my radar when the Green Paper was announced. So I did a tiny bit of research. Sir Stephen Timms is both Minister for Social Security, so benefits, and disability. So massive conflict of interest. Just look at the title. That's a huge conflict of interest, particularly when all disabled people are currently facing a massive fight against cuts to our social security. So I launched a petition, must be about a month ago now, 3 weeks, a month ago. So over 7,500 have signed it. If you have already, thank you very much. Please carry on sharing it, because we all know that the algorithms on social media are crap. And if you've shared it once, 2 people might have seen it. If you share it again, it might be a different 2 people, even if you've got 1,000 people on your personal Facebook or Twitter or wherever. So it just needs to keep being shared in all your groups. Loads of you are in ME. I'm not, but if you are in any groups, please share. Get family and friends to sign it. People that haven't got ME, please get them to sign it, because anyone can be disabled at any time. And as the Canary article says, to highlight my petition, but also expand on it, as I gave them in my quote, there's now over 16 million people in this country, and there isn't one dedicated minister for disabled people. So what I'm asking for isn't for Stephen Timms to lose his job. It's to separate the 2 roles so that he can concentrate on being Minister for Social Security and let someone else step up and be Minister for Disabled People. Because I think at the moment he's spouted so much DWP rhetoric that it's not feasible that he can now be Disabled Minister. He's, that job is a dual role, and in meetings that I've had where he's present, he's only represented DWP agenda. He hasn't said anything representing disabled people. So he's obviously made the choice. So now separate the 2 roles, give somebody else the opportunity to be disabled minister. So that's that. Please sign the petition. I'll put the link below. and the Canary article, so you can read that. Thank you very much, the Canary. I found out they were writing the article, and then I was asked to supply a quote. So thank you very much for the support, guys. Very much appreciated. Right, next. All of these welfare cuts have been going on for a while. There are millions of petitions, differently worded, all have a different point of view, a different thing that they're asking for. I am part of a couple of umbrella organisations that lots of disabled organisations are part of. And we are actively fighting back. And one of these groups is asking for people living with disabilities. I mean, obviously, I'm focused on ME, but if you're watching this and you don't have ME, but are either empathetic to our plight, are a carer, or have another disability, we are encouraging everybody in the UK to contact their minister, whoever it deals with your constituency, to say, this is awful, whatever your opinion is. Maybe you support it, in which case don't message your ME. Yeah, we need people to contact their minister to make them change their mind. Anyway, so I went to a meeting about 10 days ago, and people that are the parliamentary representatives within this umbrella organisation had found out that MPs were surprised. Now, I've heard a few MPs say they've been bombarded, so maybe it's regional, maybe areas with more disabled people are being bombarded, but elsewhere not. I have no idea. I'm not in their inboxes. But anyway, so 10 days ago, we were encouraged to get our communities to contact their own MPs with their thoughts about the welfare cuts. And I just, because obviously I've created email templates before for other campaigns, I thought, I wonder if our community is struggling to get involved, because no one in our community had at that point created an email template. Other wider organisations had, but it wasn't ME specific, and it may or may not have represented what that person wanted to say. So with my stripy head on, I posted on social media and just said, if I create a template, would that be a good thing? Do you want that? Because I've got ME myself. I don't want to waste my own energy. I'm not going to create something that isn't used. And I was bombarded. I was inundated with people saying, yes, the only reason I haven't contacted my MP is because I haven't had the cognitive power to do that. I've had no energy. I'm going through a crash, or I can't get my head around exactly what these changes mean for me or for Emmy, because it's confusing information. It's complex as well, which, people with ME can struggle with. So I created a template. That template is now on stripylightbob.com and mefoggydog.org. I've written the template so that it's ME specific, and then I've included an area where you can put if relevant, you can put your own personal circumstances there and how you personally will be impacted by the proposed changes to welfare payments. So that, as I said, that's on mefoggydog.org and stripylightbob.com. I've made it as easy as I possibly can, because you have to contact your own constituency MP yourself. This is in addition to all the work I'm doing with other organisations. This is where you can have your say. Also on the websites are a button to write to them. And when you click on that button, you type in your postcode and it tells you the email address and the contact information for your own MP. So as I said, I've made it as easy as possible. I can't physically do any more. So thank you to everybody that's used the template. I'm going to attach that to this post coming inbound. What else has happened? Right. Anyone that signed up to our Emmy Foggy Dogs email newsletter knew this a week ago. I haven't said anything publicly because I didn't want to make a big thing of it. But as part of our Bed for Severe ME campaign, we had a song contest and a logo contest. Unfortunately, we launched it 9 months ago. We promoted it. I paid money to advertise it, and we had not a single entry. We had an entry for the logo competition, so thank you to that person. I've emailed them separately to say thank you, but this isn't happening. And the song contest has now been scrapped. I'm in because it's really disappointing. I wrote this in the newsletter because I've now got a lovely music producer and musicians, and they were all going to work really hard to turn the song entries into a downloadable, possibly get in the download chart song piece of music. And I had lots of enthusiastic, let's do this, let's raise lots of money for ME. Not a single entry. We gave it 9 months because we thought people with severe ME or ME in general are going to need that extra time, but 9 months. So now we had no entries, and it needed to have a deadline because it's going to take at least 5-6 months to get the song completed and video and everything else. And it was going to be launched on the 29th of October to mark Severe ME Day. That's not happening now. But I am having a meeting with these music people to see if we can do a much less plan B. So we'll see. But it's just frustrating because last year we wanted to do a cover song and everything was in place. We had a video, we had the background music, people had got involved, lots of enthusiasm, and then we couldn't get a singer to sing the song with the right tech to make it of a download chart level of goodness. That's not good English, apologies. As in the tech wasn't good enough to be of good enough quality to be in a download chart. And that was the music producer saying that. So just frustrating because effort has gone into getting the connections to be able to have the song. So if I have any news in future, then I will share it. But maybe there's no appetite for a song to go in the download chart. That was kind of my first, okay. I thought it was a really good opportunity, but maybe I'm wrong. I put terms and conditions on the song contest thing because if the individual songwriter had the rights to the music, that person would have got all the royalties. The song is to raise money for ME research. That's why the terms and conditions were very specific, and they got okayed by music rights people that know all about that stuff. So anyway, it was all done properly, and it's really disappointing. However, I offered the opportunity. So anyway, so Bedford Severe ME isn't going anywhere though. 29th of October is Wear Your Pajamas to Work Day. We're working on business sponsorship, trying to make it as big as possible, and I'm really hoping that the community gets behind it. There is a memorial board, I think that's what it's called. It's on mefoggydog.org. It's on the drop down list for Bedford Severe ME. If you know anyone that's passed away with ME, please do leave a message of condolence on that board. That's what it's for. And then on the 29th of October, we'll get people that don't know much about ME to read. Please don't put awareness raising of ME posts on that. It's specifically for memorials to people that have died from ME, because the whole day is about raising awareness. That's not what this board is for. I can't even remember everything else that's to do. Oh, we've got badges. I am not wearing it because I thought you wouldn't be able to see it over there. I'm wearing blue for ME awareness. Oh no, hang on, I've got them in a box. Don't go anywhere. There we go. This is what you buy. This is the official Severe ME badge. You can look at the state of my nails. I'm going to top them up later, but don't look. I'll hold it so you can't see my nails. Severe ME, Bedford Severe ME. And I've been wearing this all year round. And it's specifically for the 29th of October. But if one of your loved ones has severe ME or a close friend, you can wear this all year round. I've been told by reliable sources that this is on rucksacks and handbags and lanyards and has been worn all year round. So this is your opportunity. Please do buy one. I think I've from memory. I think I've kept these as low cost. They're blooming good quality badges. They're acrylic and they've got a rubber backing. So they're not going to, fade in 2 minutes. They're really good quality. And I've kept the cost as low as possible and literally 50p profit. That profit, I'm not making a penny. That profit split 50-50. 25p goes to Smile for ME, 25p goes to ME Research with Cure ME. So you pay for postage and you pay the absolute bare minimum for the badge. No one is making any money off this badge, apart from Smile for ME, 25p, and Cure ME. Very happy to fundraise for both of those organisations because they both do blooming incredible work. Love Smile for ME and Cure ME. Anyway, so bye from emmyfoggydog.org. I will be walking them to the post office myself, and I have about 50 in a box over there. So please buy some. And also, maybe your relative owns a shop. I could possibly have a conversation with you and see if you want to sell them in your shop. I don't know how that would work, but I'm assuming you would buy them off me and then resell. I don't know. If I can get a box or whatever. I've been in conversations with Tesco. Unfortunately, right, you won't know this. So I agonised over when was the best date to have bed for severe ME. It was originally, people that are paying attention, I do. Sorry, that just caught my eye. Oh no, look, see there between my hands. ME hospital charter. I've got something to tell you about that in a minute. Bear with. Yes, so bed for severe ME. I knew I wanted to do something that the whole community could get involved in that was different to what was already being offered about severe ME. And I'm going to explain what I mean. So we all know that Severe ME Day is the 8th of August. That was the original date that we held Bed for Severe ME last year. But it felt really strange because a lot of Bed for Severe ME is colourful. It's get involved, wear your pyjamas, post yourself wearing pyjamas. And at exactly the same time, there were, rightly so, very serious, severe ME is deadly, severe ME is, quality of life is worse than late stage cancer, late stage renal failure. And on the day I felt a bit, not that it didn't feel right, it just felt like, hang on, we need a different day because this just doesn't. And with Smile for ME as well, obviously that's because of Merrin Croft, and it just felt a bit strange. And I didn't know whether the community felt strange about it too, because engagement was low. And I was like, okay, let's try again. So then me and Karen, my volunteer, agonised. We looked at pages and pages and pages of other awareness days, dates that we should avoid, when half term is, when summer holiday is. Right. And then I thought, hang on, the 29th of October is actually a very important date for our community in the UK because it was the date that the latest NICE guideline was approved. And, that was a significant date for us. We'd fought for that. And even though the NICE guideline isn't adhered to, maybe holding it on the 29th of October would give us the opportunity to say, did you know the 29th of October was a really important date? You probably don't, because the NICE guideline has kind of faded and nobody adheres to it, very few, and nothing has changed. So I thought, well, that gives me an extra thing to talk about in terms of severe ME. So that's why we chose the 29th of October. It does mean something to our community without being specific to one person or to the absolute worst. Obviously, it's when Sophia Mirza passed away. That's why it's the 8th of October. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's why it's the 8th of October. August. Sorry, apologies. Anyway, so I thought, well, it's a complete rebrand. Something new, something that everybody can get involved in, and it's going to be multifaceted. So 29th of October, that's why we chose it. So, but since then, I found out that that week is half term in some parts of the country. And big supermarkets are already tied into charitable contracts with Remembrance Sunday, with the Royal British Legion, literally for months either side. So they can't actively support any other charity. So yes, I've been having all these conversations with corporates, and we can't, because we're completely focused on Poppy, the Poppy bill, which is, I'm from a military family. I understand how huge and important it is. It's just frustrating because none of the research that me and Karen did spotted that it was the Poppy appeal. Because I just thought, remember, Sunday's there. This is like 2 weeks before. It's not going to interfere. Yes, it is. Anyway, but we are still working on business model. Everybody says, oh, you need to try this. Yes, I know. We've been trying that for a year. So we'll see. If you've got any other ideas for what can be included in bed for severe ME, please do let me know. Wacky works. Wacky leads to engagement, which is why I'm like, take a photo of yourself in your pajamas. And, bed is, people living with severe ME, the only thing they've got in common other than severe ME is a bed, which is why it's the focus of bed for severe ME. It's simple, it's effective, and I'm very proud of it. And if I can raise, I think I'm going to give myself a target of £1,000 for each charity. So that's 2,000 in total this year. That would be amazing. Last year, I think I made something like £400 for each one. I mean, it's not bad for the first ever Bed for Severe ME Day from one person, and awesome Karen and a couple of other people that have given me a couple of hours of their time. Very, very grateful to every single person that's helped. But yeah, if you've got a wacky idea but haven't got the energy to do it yourself, and it fits with Bed for Severe ME, please do let me know. But I think we've got 5 or 6 things. I just can't remember what they are off the top of my head. But please do check out mefoggy.org. And then obviously anyone that's paid attention, I run 2 social enterprises. Bed for Severe ME is mostly ME Foggy Dog, but Stripey Lightbulb helps to promote it. But also we offer webinars as part of the educational content. So it's both hats on. I do Bed for Severe ME. See if you can get your MP to wear it. I kind of hinted at this on social media this morning. My own MP, Stephen Morgan, has worn this badge on the 29th of October last year, and sent a tweet in support. However, and I'm very grateful for that, however, his current standpoint on disability cuts shows that he's not as supportive of chronically sick and disabled people as wearing my badge would imply. So, because actions matter. So that's my little bit of criticism of my own personal MP. But maybe if you have an empathetic MP, could you say, if I bought one of these, because, money is going to ME charities, even a tiny profit, ask them if they would buy one and wear one. Yes. So, and on the day we're going to be doing a fundraiser too. So again, off the top of my head, if you have a loved one, or if you are a loved one of someone with ME and you want to do a bit of fundraising for Smile for ME, or you can do or both, and oh god, brain's going, and you want to fundraise for Smile for ME and Cure ME and take part in Bed for Severe ME, let me know. Maybe you want to stay in bed for a week. I know it's a gimmick, maybe a month, and you literally can only get out of bed to go to the toilet or have a shower. No, you have to have wet wipes for a month, in solidarity with people living with in solidarity with people with severe ME. Just gimmicky things, I don't know, whatever. I haven't really put two thoughts into it. But if you want to help me to fundraise by actively doing something in your community, let me know, because my plan is to make Bed for Severe ME as big as I possibly can. And I'm going to need as many people to get involved as possible, even if it's in a tiny way. Because, I know the nature of ME, and I know that many of you are restricted to only being able to do stuff in what other people would call slow time, over many months. And that's why it's now an annual campaign. So you've got a year to get involved in it, or you had a year. You've now got 6 months, I think it is. I literally had a reminder yesterday to announce the winner of the song contest. So I know it must be 5 or 6 months from Bed for Severe Me. Anyway, so I'm going to start posting about this more often. But like I say, bye. And if you own a little shop and you want to help sell them, we can come up with a plan. I will do whatever fits with you, as long as they sell for the price that I'm selling them for on the website, and the profit goes to the two organisations. But yeah, thank you to everyone that's got involved with that. Now, what was it that I said? Yes. I'm continuing to have meetings with health boards around the UK. And I'm going to say it. Wales is being far more receptive than any of the other nations in the UK. Well done, Wales. Well done. Absolutely blooming fantastic. And no, with some of these health boards, I had no connection, no existing connection. They've simply received my email, got in touch, arranged a meeting, and sat and had a conversation with me. And had a meeting this week with somewhere in Wales, and they were amazing. They understood the need. They completely got that. Actually, they admitted, right, hang on, at the end of the Zoom call, they said, do you know, we were talking about them possibly getting their department to do stripy light bulbs training. That was not the intention of the meeting, but they did their due diligence beforehand. They looked into stripy light bulb, and they were talking amongst themselves as to whether they should train their staff up on ME. Made my week. Anyway, so at the end of the conversation, they said, just this conversation with you that went on for 45 minutes. It was a really interesting, really engaging conversation. And they said, just this conversation with you, we've learned more about ME in 45 minutes than either of it. It was an OT and a dietitian, but they've been in healthcare for decades. They learnt more about ME in 45 minutes than they had in all that time. They did not know that people living with ME have sensory issues. And that came because in the charter, it says, help to limit sensory overload. Oh, so pleased. The charter is working and it's not even implemented yet. So, I was getting a bit tearful then, sorry. So yes, so given the opportunity, those conversations are very positive. At the moment, no, a health board hasn't implemented it, but I only really started having face-to-face conversations with health boards in February. Because in October, when it launched, I contacted all the big hitters, so governments, NHS Confederation, NHS England, NHS Wales, all that kind of thing. And then in February, it was like, sod it. I'm going to contact the people that actually make the decisions, the ICBs or the health boards. They're all called different things in different nations. And then now the conversation, I'm not going to lie, it's under 20 that I've had conversations with. But every single conversation has gone very, very well. Every single ICB or health board has said, okay, we see the need. But the stumbling block is going to be the implementation, because those lovely, awesome people that I've been talking to then have to talk to boards, talk to their staff, do their own scoping exercises, and then they will experience the false beliefs of their staff about what ME is and is not, or we haven't got time to do that. We haven't got the infrastructure to do that. But as I explained yesterday, so this is how I'm explaining it in my meetings, right? You ready? At the moment, patients are receiving mostly because I know somebody will go, oh, I get really good care. Well, look, I'm really happy to hear that, but 99% don't. So most receive inadequate or inappropriate care when they are on hospital estates. And that's because of the poor knowledge base. We've now got, thank God, Department of Health and Social Care acknowledging 5 years after we did Stripy Light Bulb, acknowledging that education, the poor knowledge base, is the cause of inadequate and inappropriate care on hospital estate for people living with ME. So you got these two things going on. So there's the lack of, hang on, which hand? It's round the wrong way. Patients are here. So see, to me this is left, but it's right on the screen. And my brain's not coping. So there's a gap between what patients need and what the NHS can offer, because it's going to take decades and decades for this training to be rolled out to such a level that it's a minority of patients that receive inappropriate or inadequate care on hospital estates. Right, so put the two together, there is a gap. The charter goes here because there is enough in that charter to make sure that no patients are harmed while on a hospital estate, while we wait for all of these people to learn even the basics of what ME is. And I'd love them all to do Stripy Light Bulbs training, but let's be pragmatic and realistic. There are a hell of a lot of medical professionals who will only do training that is offered by universities or their own healthcare organisation, right? Let's be realistic. So we are a VCSE, it's CPD accredited, it's bloody good, and it's fully evidence-based. Nothing I say in there can't be proven by a piece of research that's peer-reviewed. But there is a resistance. So what I'm saying is, if you implement our charter, you will be bringing the two together. And no patient on your hospital estate should ever be harmed due to inappropriate care. Because let's face it, someone living with ME does not go into hospital for their ME. They go in because one of their ME symptoms could be causing them problems. They might need a feeding tube changed, or they might have malnutrition, which is what most of our severe patients have when they're in hospital. And you should read the charter. It's again, I'll put the link in the text bit of this post. It's literally a harm limiting exercise. And in it says, please do refer, there's 5 key principles. One of those principles says, bare minimum, read the NICE guidelines of 2021. Because that tells you the basics, because let's be frank, the NICE guideline is not fantastic, but it tells you how to limit harm when you are caring for someone with ME. There's not enough about hospital care in it for my liking. That's where the charter steps in. But yeah, so it's a harm limiting document. But the organisation I spoke to this week were very enthusiastic. They want to do the training without me mentioning it. And yeah, fantastic. I was blown away. And all the anecdotes that I've ever been told over the last 11 years are coming in very handy. Obviously, I've forgotten all of your names and where you live, so it may as well be confidential. And I'm like, so many people have told me that they've received inappropriate care on a hospital estate. But what I've also been pleased about is in these conversations, when they're going away to do their own scoping exercise to see how much of a need there is. And yes, I've explained that most people don't have a diagnosis, or they may be coded wrong, etc., etc. All of those caveats have been mentioned in these meetings, but I kind of say this is how you can work out how many people have ME in your area. So the people that I was talking to this week, they have 5,000 people living with ME under their umbrella regional organisation. So can you imagine if they implement it? Oh, gives me a warm fuzzy glow. But yeah, so part of the charter is eventually, when it starts being implemented, Stripey Lightbulb's going to have a list of these organisations have implemented our charter, and then on their own website, they're going to have the logo on the bottom to say, we support the ME Friendly Hospital Charter. So if you're going into a hospital that's part of that regional organisation, and you don't get appropriate care, you can flag it, report it, and they have to self-monitor it. So if it's not implemented, they need to ask why. So it's so good. If it was a toddler, I'd be grabbing its cheeks and giving it a massive snog. Anyway, just so, I don't mean massive, like an auntie when toddlers go get off me. That's what I'll be doing. You can tell it's Friday and I'm tired. Anyway, so that's the charter. Please do get involved if you haven't done so already, because that's something I'm very proud of, and I'm very grateful, proud of the people in our community that use their energy to help me create it, because it's bloody good. Every single organisation has said what an impressive piece of work it is, including the artwork, because what I do is I send a link to the artwork, like the whole thing, but because it's not that's a hell of a lot of ink for them to use to print it out, and it would be a waste of my Stripey Lightbulb's money if we paid to print out lots of them and postage. So we don't send out the real thing, we send the digital copy, but we are thinking of sending out the printed, like to people that are enthusiastic, sending them the actual document. Yes, so I then send them a text-only version as well, which obviously isn't as impressive, but they actually get to see the nitty-gritty. And I also send them a case study document. And there are 3 case studies per UK nation. So people specific to their health board. And so, yeah, this organisation has now got the case study document for this nation. And and it's a range of ages, a range of severities, but they've all had difficulties. And it's not always the same difficulty either. So again, thank you to people that supplied me with the case studies. So that's that. Talking about case studies, to go back to the welfare reform issue, with Stripey Lightbulb, I've also been asked to create case studies. Right, so there are pen portraits, which are very short. Joe Bloggs is 40. Joe Bloggs is 48, has got ME, has lived with ME for, no, I'm going to make out that my ME is worse. Hang on. For 19 years, she's got severe ME. She can't work. In the current PIP system, she gets 8 points, but it's an accumulation of points over 4 or 5 different categories. She does not get 4 points in any one category. This means that she will no longer be eligible for PIP. She can't work. And then the second paragraph, this is how much money she gets. This is exactly the allocation of points from the DWP. That's a pen portrait. If you want to help with that, please get in touch, either with my ME Foggy Dog head on or Stripey Lightbulb, because it all comes to me. And if I think it's more Stripey appropriate, I'll say to you, can I use this for that? And then use it. So I'm after pen portraits, but I'm also after case studies, which are far more specific and more detailed. Now, I am writing the specific formats. What I need is your lived experience, so that if I'm questioned about it, I can say, yes, this is a real person. This is actually happening, even if I don't actually give them your confidential information. Does that make sense? I want to know in my heart that, yes, I'm accurately representing you. So pen portraits are what I've just described, but I also need to write case studies on the impact of the PIP changes. I have been told that I can make it up, but I want to make sure I get it right. So if you are worried that you are going to be losing your PIP, again, I can anonymise you. So don't worry about your information going any further. I am the data controller for 2 social enterprises. I'll keep my mouth closed as to who you are, but I need to know exactly how you're going to be impacted by the PIP reforms. So I'm on what used to be working tax credit, which I'm now on the WCA, Universal Career, which is rubbish. I can't keep up with it, to be perfectly frank. All I know is it's the health element of Universal Credit. And I am going to have mine reduced, cut back, if these reforms go through. Because if they are determined by a PIP application, I've never been successful for PIP. So I'm going to lose money. But I would rather have someone that's going to lose their PIP, because you're more likely to not be working and not have an opportunity to get any job. So I would rather use you as an example, please. Not because it's not that it's making more of an impact, it's that it saves the argument from the DWP saying, oh, well, if they're able to work, they can just go and get a better job, which we know that's not possible, but that's another argument. So I'm thinking, if I can write a case study on someone that's going to lose their PIP as a direct result, please let me know, because we've all been asked to submit at least one to represent our community. And I can't use myself because I've never successfully managed to apply for PIP. Even though I've been told by the DWP, by 3 different assessors, that I am eligible. Go figure. And I just haven't had the energy to keep applying. I don't need any advice. I know that there are support agencies there to help me apply. I've used them. I've still been turned down at the mandatory reconsideration bit 2. I haven't got the energy to keep fighting. I've got enough money to live off, and that's it. Stress-free. Avoid DWP at all costs, for me personally. But I know that many of you do not have that option. So, yes, so get involved with that. But I'm asking for help from so many different things at the moment. I'm sorry for that, but it's just unfortunate that everything is hitting at the same time. And a lot of my work is entirely patient-centred. And I don't want to speak for you without knowing exactly how you're going to be impacted. Because, losing your PIP also means that you're not eligible for is it cheaper or losing your council tax? You have to pay more for your council tax, and there's lots of other smaller benefits that you lose if you lose your PIP. I don't know anything about that because I've never been successful, and I'm not a PIP support person. I don't know the ins and outs of PIP. So that's what I mean. I need to know specifics, what you will possibly lose if you have your PIP removed. As I said, I can make it confidential and I have to write the case study, but I do need specific information from you. If you want to help, please do email me, emmyfoggydog@gmail.com or info@stripylightbulb.com, and I will message you back and I will tell you what information I need. But there is now a short deadline. So I think I've got maybe a week, 2 weeks at most. So if you watch this and you want to help, please help. And then I can create something next week and send it to the disability organisation that I work with. So yeah, thank you. Let's make sure that Emmy is appropriately, because it was mentioned in Parliament this week that we are disproportionately going to be impacted by these welfare reforms. So we definitely need to be represented appropriately, but I need your help. I think that's it. But please do check out, oh no, hang on. Emmy Foggy Dog needs help with overheads. As I've just said, I've got just about enough to support myself money-wise, but I am having to occasionally pay for extra bits, software licenses, printer cartridges, paper, all the overhead costs that come with running Emmy Foggy Dog. And I am running a crowdfunder. I actually thought that it was quite a modest amount that I was asking for, 750 quid for a year. It is. I actually spend a lot more than that myself, but it just takes the pressure off me. It means that I'm not struggling to cover the overheads. But I did think maybe I would exceed 750, and the amount that I exceeded it was going to be put towards awareness events. But at the moment, we've got 5 days left and I've only raised 680 quid. So we're going to struggle to reach the 750 quid. That means that I won't be able to do awareness events because I can't pay for them myself anymore. Everybody knows this. Prices have gone up. My own personal expenditure has gone up, so I can't afford to keep topping up, because everything I sell with Foggy only makes about £1 profit. You can't support a business on selling a couple of things a month. Like £2 a month. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. Please look at Foggy's Blackboard if you want to support Emmy Foggy Dog financially. You've got 5 days to do it. And the other thing was the petition that I've already mentioned about Stephen Timms. But yeah, there's 1,000,001 things going on at the moment. I have written so many blogs, newsletters, social media posts, done videos, you name it, I've done it. If you've not been on social media for any reason, please do either get a loved one to check it out and tell you what I'm asking people to do, or slowly just read it yourself and then just see. But yeah, we need as many different people in our community to get involved as possible, please. And I think that's it. I'm doing a half day today because it's been a blooming long week with my awesome charter meetings. But yeah, as soon as it's implemented by anybody, obviously I'm going to tell all of you, because that's going to be very exciting. If that's my legacy, if I get run over by a number 6 bus in 18 months' time and I've implemented the charter in at least one health board, that is my legacy. And I'll be so happy because it's entirely patient-centred, entirely created by a patient through the awesome input of a range of patients and carers and a couple of NHS staff. One last thing. I'm going to write a blog about this. But there was a piece of research. No, it wasn't. It was a letter in an article. No. Oh, sorry. My brain's going. There was a letter in a journal about 6 weeks ago now, and Naomi Harvey flagged it on Twitter. I saw it and I've shared it with numerous people and asked for their input and what their thoughts are on it. So, you know, this 250,000 figure that's been rumbling on for a very long time. Part of the reason it's been rumbling on for a very long time is because the piece of research that said that was actually quoting a piece of multiple sclerosis research. And other people that have used that, referenced it, since then haven't noticed that they were actually referencing a piece of work about multiple sclerosis, an entirely different disease. Yes, it's similar, but it's not the same. And I was actually shocked. I was like, you are joking me. How has no one noticed this? Anyway, so I sent it to a researcher friend and she's now sent me a very comprehensive reply. And I've said, can I quote bits? And she's like, well, you can, but I need to check the article because, I'm not going to be, she's got to be careful in her professional capacity. So I'm going to need a brain cell to read what she's written and to write a blog to make sure I'm not saying anything that we shouldn't be. So, but yeah, shocking that researchers that referenced that article didn't double check the references. It was kind of, oh, well, so-and-so's referenced it, so I'll reference it, without actually reading to make sure that this original article was referencing appropriate stuff. The article was about ME, and yet the thingy was about MS. Anyway, so keep your eyes peeled for a blog. Otherwise, check out Naomi Harvey on Twitter. I'm not calling it X, on Twitter, and scroll back about 2 months and you'll see. I have shared it a couple of times, but I can't remember. But yeah, that was shocking. And I think one of my contacts, has contacted David Tuller to say, does this actually cause problems for our community? Because it might not be as shocking as we're thinking it is. It depends on whether that piece of research has informed policy. That's what we need to worry about. But it might be that it's never been used to inform policy. But yeah, otherwise, a piece of MS research is informing how ME is treated as in managed in this country. We'll see. Anyway, keep your eyes peeled. I am looking into that and getting the researchers in my, because I'm a researcher, but I've also got cognitive impairment. So I'm using someone that is actually a researcher in real life now to look at it and go, oh, that's not good. Or, oh, no, it's not as bad as it looks. So, yeah, anyway, so bear with, and I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, I'm going now. This is a really long video. I didn't mean it to be, but this is what I mean. It's there's a lot going on, an awful lot. And if you miss social media for a couple of days, you are missing a heck of a lot of stuff. Anyway, catch you later. Thank you for tuning in.